It's your boy MileHighFloatin with the CannaPost Daily show, where you get your cannabis news on a weekly basis. Because you know we're all stoners. But go follow us on all our social media, such as Instagram and Facebook, to go ahead and get some daily posts if you want to get your daily dose of CannaPost Daily. But without further ado, man, let's go ahead and jump into this. I was just kind of checking out Leafly, looking around at my cannabis news. And what I kind of had noticed reading along with some of these articles was very interesting. I saw an article titled, "Oregon Wants to Become America's Source for Cannabis." And my initial thoughts were, what do you mean? You know what I'm saying? Like, all the cannabis, industries within each state are supposed to kind of be in control of their own situations, their own industries, if you will. So it kind of didn't make sense to me at first. So I kind of dove in and started reading it. And basically what it comes down to, in a short, sweet version of this, is basically they're trying to pass a bill by the, Bill 582. Let me get that right. It's a Senate Bill 582 to make it a law that will allow for Oregon to be able to transport cannabis across state lines into other states that allow cannabis, which is very interesting to me. First off, just for the simple fact that, one, not all 50 states are legal. So what are you going to do when you're trying to get to one of these legal states going through a state that is not legal? What happens then? You know what I'm saying? Because obviously there's going to have to be all sorts of other things set in place in these non-legal states for that to be possible. Correct? I mean, I could be very wrong about that. You know what I'm saying? Maybe there's little ways around it, but I'm pretty sure you'd have to find a way to make that a legal situation in every state that wasn't legal as well. You know what I mean? So, yeah. But basically, they're just trying to become pioneers of something else, because Oregon, if you don't know, was the very first state to decriminalize cannabis in '73, and I believe it was the second state to legalize cannabis on a medical level in late 90s, like 98 or 99 or something like that. I think it's 98. But yeah, so basically now they're trying to be the pioneers of something else in this wonderful industry, which would be the first state to figure out a way to legally transport cannabis across state lines on a massive level that would be like legal on an industry level. It's crazy to me. Like, I'm still trying to process the whole situation. But that bill did pass through the state Senate, which I would have assumed would have been the hardest hurdle for them to kind of get past. When you're talking like a city level, it's a little bit easier to kind of get the support that you need, whereas when you get to the state level, you gotta have all your ducks in a row and get people on board with what you're doing. You almost got to sell yourself even harder when you get to that level. So yeah, man, very interesting little situation. Senate Bill 582, Oregon trying to become the first state to legally transport weed across state lines, which would be crazy, especially for a state that I feel was directly contributing, was a direct contributor to the reason why cannabis prices kind of dropped. You know what I'm saying? Being in the industry at that time when Oregon had that surplus of weed, I kind of know firsthand experience kind of how them deeming all that flower and product unsellable and needed to be destroyed, you were kind of messing with the livelihoods of a lot of people. You know what I mean? People who couldn't afford to just destroy it, whether the state told them or not. So where did that stuff go? Into the black market or anywhere else that they could get the money back. And we saw a direct correlation to the prices of cannabis shortly after. To unprecedented prices. It was crazy. But this would be kind of a way, I think, for them to, maybe combat the idea of, forcing these independent small growers who can't afford to lose a crop or to destroy something out of, a miscalculation of the state or themselves or whoever, they can't afford to destroy that stuff. And with that being said, this would be a very interesting kind of like solution to that, because by allowing the product to always be in a state of being able to be sold, you kind of take away that whole need to go to the black market and, you know, that need to just sell it for any old price. You know what I'm saying? So at that point, maybe we can, I mean, we've already seen, you know, basically a stop or a plateau of like, you know, the whole decrease of prices and stuff. It's kind of hit like a real stable situation now. Whereas if they were able to do this and pass this, and let's say a few more states kind of get involved that are legal, you would kind of like help boost the revenues a little bit. And you could probably, of these independent ones, I don't think that the big ones would really necessarily be affected too much. Granted, they would just probably make more money. But this is more directed towards like the smaller independent growers and facilities. But this would allow them to always be able to sell their products. This would, you know what I'm saying? It would take away any sort of need to go to a different avenue to get rid of it. And you would never have to lower your prices at the same note, because you can always sell it. You can wait it out. You know, someone's going to come along that would buy it, especially if it's right. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's a very interesting situation. I think that if they could pass it, that they would be able to kind of help directly fix the pricing issue with weed or cannabis, whatever you want to call it. We're adults here. But this would help, I feel, with appeasing some of the prices back to a reasonable, you know, level or price again, to where companies can make money and therefore employees could get paid what they actually deserve to be paid in this industry. So yeah, man, very interesting little story there. Really not much more to it. It's a developing story. It only came out I want to say yesterday or today, this little article. So very interesting topic nonetheless, that I think we will probably continue to keep up on as time, you know, goes and that whole bill develops and that story develops and stuff. So yeah, man. Anyways, so actually, let me hit this pen right here. You know, you gotta stay up on your CBDs. You know, I'll take this time too to kind of give a shout out to the Clear. This is the concentrate company that, you know, is backing me and helping me build this podcast. Man, they're the ones kind of behind the scenes giving me the capabilities and the space, this studio, to be able to do this, man. So, you know, shout outs to you guys. I really appreciate you at the Clear, everyone over there, all your affiliates, Bonsai Cultivation, everybody, you know, the Clear CBD, which I'm, you know, smoking on right now. I got that lemon lime cart, very good. Tastes like Sprite. Like, it literally tastes like Sprite without carbonation. It's fantastic, like a flat Sprite. I know that sounds weird, but the flavor is unreal. So, but yeah, man, I think honestly that's going to kind of conclude this short little podcast. Just know, man, there's more to come. There's definitely more to come, and we're going to be able to do a lot of cool things. If there's anything you guys want to see, you know, on this podcast, you want to hear about, anything you would like to learn about that's related to cannabis, let me know. Email me. You know what I'm saying? You can find us at Podbean. Just look up CannaPost Daily. You can find us on iTunes eventually. So don't quote me right now. It's the very first episode, but we will be uploading to iTunes, and you'll be able to follow us there, follow the feed there. And we also have a social media presence on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. So go ahead and go subscribe to us there. If you don't want to listen to the podcast all the time, just know all the interviews and majority of the podcasts from here on out will be recorded, so that way if you're not one to just listen, you actually want to have a visual to go along with it, you can go tune in on YouTube and kind of get a visual, get a visual along with the actual interview, and that way you can kind of put faces to the voices and, you know, faces to the names and all that good stuff. Yeah, check me out, MileHighFloatin. I am your host of the CannaPost Daily podcast. And yeah, man, I love you guys. There is no me without you. Always remember to live your life high, honest, intelligent, genuine, and humble. Look yourself in the mirror and ask you living that way. And you all have a great, fantastic day on this beautiful May 17th. And yeah, I'll see you guys later. CannaPost Daily out. Your cannabis news given to you weekly.